Hey everybody, welcome to Adam Makes Beer, and today I'm going to show you how we drop the temperature of our kettle after our boil is complete for our hop forward beers. There's a lot of times where we want to lower that temperature. For us, for this beer, Sabo in particular, we're going to 170 degrees right now. It's a way that you can try to maximize some hop flavor and aroma in your hop forward beers. So what we're going to do is we are going to be running our hot wort through our heat exchanger, but eventually back into the kettle itself. We'll show you how we carry out that process, and it's going to be amazing. I mean, it's not really, but you know, I mean, it'll be, you'll see what we do. All right, hey, so Josh and Maggie are actually going to be carrying out this procedure where what's happening right now is Maggie is queued up. This is the line that we're going to be running to the fermenter. And so what we're doing is we attach off this block right here, this little arm and elbow that we're going to be using. That's going to be the portion that actually fully returns to the kettle. That hose is, you can go ahead, Josh. That hose that Maggie is handling right now, this is actually the one that's attached to the heat exchanger. So she's going to be running all of this sanitizer, this no rinse sanitizer. It is a PAA solution. She's going to be running all of that out through the heat exchanger right now. We do have both water sources on our heat exchanger. And look, you can see that that's turning to wort right there. So he cuts the pump, she cuts that there. And then Josh is going to help her manipulate that hose back up to the top of the kettle. And then when she's up there, Josh is going to restart that pump. She's going to reopen the valve, and it's going to be returning that cold wort coming through the heat exchanger back into the kettle. All right, so here's Mag and I up on the brew deck. She's holding this little rig that we have. You can see that there's wort going through the sight glass here, and it's returning down into the kettle. That elbow right there is actually below the wort line. I prefer to be doing that. I don't want to just be splashing wort around everywhere. I'd rather keep this as gentle as we can. And then what I'm doing is I am trying to crash this temperature down. My temperature gauge for that is right here, and you can see that slowly ticking down. This process takes us about 10 minutes to complete, and it is a little bit of a manual process, but it's the way that we can do this well. Now, you might be wondering, why am I not returning that back through the Whirlpool? And that's a good question. I've done it before, and I had huge temperature stratification. I'm on a 15 barrel kettle, and I know it's not the biggest in the world, but when I push wort back through essentially this lower third, that's my Whirlpool arm right here. When I push wort around basically the lower third and return it cold back there, I actually get a cold layer and then still a hot layer up top. I know because we've done it. I try to return in the opposite direction that the Whirlpool goes, and just below the surface, kind of on the top. I find that when I do that, I get a more consistent temperature throughout all stages of the kettle. We're going to run this setup until we get down to 170 degrees, and then we'll turn off that pump. And it's at that point where I'll start whirlpooling this kettle again, and then add the hops that I'm adding for this beer today. One thing that may be of interest for those of you that are brewing on a manifold system like this, typically there's just one union that would be connecting these two right here. That's where I need to be right now with this whole process. But I've hooked up this, I've created this, I've made a loop with this right here. It gives me a sight glass right here and a dump valve. What that will allow me to do is once I hit this Whirlpool, which is with a solid amount of hops for these hop forward beers that I'm doing. Having this dump right here, this valve right here, this allows me to blow out kind of that stack of hops that's going to be toward the bottom of my kettle, toward my drain and my standpipe in there. So anyways, that way I'm just not slamming a whole bunch of hops through the heat exchanger. That's my kind of little hot take, little tip right there. If you do have an arrangement like this and you don't have a natural capacity to blow out the bottom of that kettle before you start running through your heat exchanger, when you're using big hot volumes like we're using for this, try to rig something up to where you can make a little dump for yourself right there. I think that's all the stuff I need to talk about for this. All right, everybody, thank you so much for watching. If you feel as if you got any value out of the video, please like and subscribe. There are also other videos that you can watch. They're gonna maybe be over here or over here. Appreciate you watching.